Empire Talks presents your host, Rick Delgado.
And welcome to Empire Talks. Our guest today is a lovely lady. She's out of Valrico, Florida. She is the owner at Holistic Health and Wellness, LLC. We've become good friends lately, actually. Her name is Lynne Wadsworth. You can reach her through her website, holistic-healthandwellness.com, or you can give her a call anytime at 813-340-1368. How about a nice round of applause? Let's hear it for our guest, Lynne Wadsworth. Lynne, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you? Thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us, and we finally get to meet live and in person. This is a lot of fun. We've had a great relationship, so to speak, talking on the phone for our first few interviews, but seeing you in person now really kind of brings it all together. So thanks again for making the trip and joining us here. Now, can you tell everybody a little bit about what you do? I mean, you're the owner at Holistic Health and Wellness, LLC. But what does that mean? What do you do when you work with people?
Well, I do a range of things. I work with people who want to get healthy, who want to get overweight plateaus, people who have health issues, and they don't want to go the route of pills necessarily. Right. So I do a lot of weight loss with people, and it's generally all natural. I do not do supplements. I do all natural food. So I teach people how to live a healthy lifestyle, right, so that it's sustainable and so that it's an attainable goal for them, right, and so it becomes part of their everyday living.
And now when you say, do the healthy lifestyle, a lot of people attribute, you said something right there that you said you don't use supplements, and a lot of people use supplements. They go to their local, GNC vitamin shops and stuff like
right.
that. To go get these supplements that they're told is going to help them lead a healthier lifestyle, but you're saying kind of boo to that.
But it really doesn't. I think I've probably done every yo-yo diet and I've been to the weight loss clinics in the past.
Right.
And when I found the holistic way and realized that it's all mindset and it's a lifestyle that you have to learn, then it becomes sustainable, because most of us know that if you go on some kind of weight loss program, after you've finished, you're real happy with yourself, mm-hmm, and then bit by bit you bring some friends back to the weight that you had and you're bigger than you were before. It's not sustainable, right, because it's not really real. What you need to do is change the way that you eat and change the way that you live your lifestyle, because a healthy lifestyle is not just about what you eat. Right. Losing weight isn't just about what you eat.
All right. Now, when people come to work with you, they ring you up or they contact you on your website. What is it that you take them through? How does the whole process work? Because, like you said, you're taking them away from the things that you see on TV, the commercials. Oh, do this weight loss, eat this, take this pill, do all that. But you're taking them in a different direction. So how does that work?
Well, I always do a free consultation with them so that they can talk to me and tell me what issues they might be dealing with. Losing weight or the inability to lose weight or health issues sometimes isn't as simple as it sounds. So I will take people through a series of questions to find out where they're at, right, what it is they're trying to achieve, what their stumbling blocks might be, because for everybody it's different. Somebody might come to me for weight loss, and the next person that comes to me for weight loss, I wouldn't deal with them the same way, because their issues are a little different. So I get to know them, get to know what they want to achieve, and come up with a plan on how we can achieve that. And then when I work with them, it's generally teaching them the healthy lifestyle bit by bit, because you can't just expect somebody to completely change overnight. That isn't sustainable for them. Right. So it's small bit by bit changes in their lifestyle that becomes a lifestyle to them, so that they can keep doing what they're doing. Right.
Now, it's funny because you say it is about changing, and everybody goes through that period, Lynne. I think you probably did it too when you said you were on every diet plan and yo-yoing, mm-hmm, and stuff like that, where January 1st comes. It's the new year. It's going to be the new me. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to the gym. They run out to the gym and they get signed up. And next thing you know, they're in there. They're huffing and puffing. And 2 weeks later, they're on the couch.
Quit.
Boom, with a bag of chips going. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I've been there. I don't make New Year's resolutions anymore.
Right.
I've decided that they just don't work, and they don't work for the majority of people. You're very right. A couple of weeks down the road, and it's like you just lose momentum. If you're working with a health coach, then you've got somebody there that you can be accountable to, and that can help you and encourage you through it, because it's not easy to make the changes. We might have good intentions at the beginning, but carrying it through isn't always that easy.
Everybody has great intentions.
Yes.
That's why they shell out their money like LA Fitness, make me not fat.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it works.
That's not the way it works. Now, don't get me wrong, you need the exercise, and it's very healthy, and you're not going to be able to sustain your weight if you don't have a healthy exercise regimen, but it's not just that one thing. It's just a whole, even sleep has something to do with how you are health-wise. Your eating, your stress levels. There's so many little things that people don't think about.
Right.
It's not just let's go to the gym or let's try this diet plan. It's really a changing finding out what works for you.
Right. Now, what do you find has been, between some of the people that have come to you that you've helped, what do you see has been some of their biggest challenges? Has it been just cravings, or has it been something deeper than that?
It depends on the person. A lot of people, in fact, I just did a class on cravings, on sugar cravings. Do you know that sugar is more addictive than heroin and cocaine?
I would say now I do.
Yeah. So, for people that have a problem with sugar, then I teach them how to get off that sugar craving merry-go-round so that they can get away from the sweet things. And sweet things happens to be one thing that's, especially if I go home to England, I really want that English chocolate.
I know. You know what? It's funny because we were just talking about, because Lynne, as you can tell, she's not from Florida. She is from England. And I used to go there often. And one of the things was, going into the underground, they'd always have the chocolate machines.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this? It wasn't a soda machine or a water machine or anything. It was chocolate.
Don't come between English people and their chocolate.
It was amazing, and I couldn't figure out. It's like, well, what? Okay, I guess I'll try some. And it was kind of awesome.
It is kind of awesome, and they make the same over here, but it doesn't taste the same.
Right.
So, people, of course, there's people with the chocolate cravings, but there's those people that have the savory cravings, people that like to eat potato chips. It's the same thing. You get into that spiral that it's really hard to break. And it's learning small things to help break those cycles. Right. And some of that is as easy as learning how to hydrate yourself and drink your water, because if you're hungry for something sweet or something savory, stop and ask yourself, am I really hungry, or am I really craving this, or is there something else going on with my body? Or is it just my mind? My mind's telling me. And I find that with me, if I'm in a cycle of sweet things, it's not that I'm hungry, it's not that I need it, it's my mind telling me you really need to go get that out. You need to go get that out the fridge now.
Right.
I keep my English chocolate in the freezer, so yeah. But there are tips and tricks that we use to help people to break those cycles, whether it's sweet or whether it's savory. And that's one thing that I have helped people with. Some people come to me with issues like that. Some people just have been used to being on diet pills or being on diet programs, and I've helped them to realize that they don't have to go and buy the alternatives in the store that are not healthy for you. Like, I don't do low fat or no fat. That's not healthy for you.
Okay.
And it's not anything that keeps you filled up. It doesn't have the fiber, it doesn't have the nutrients. And I think we've talked about this on the radio show, that if you take something like white rice, it was brown rice at one time, and they've stripped the fiber and the nutrients from it. And we're also used to eating white rice, that eating brown rice is a difficult transition, but that's not the natural thing. And so many of the things, like the no-fat, low-fat things, have been stripped of their nutrients. So where you think that you're getting a low-calorie option, which you are, they're adding bad things into that to make it taste better, and it doesn't sustain you throughout the morning.
Right.
So I always try to start my day with something really healthy that's got lots of protein and lots of fiber, and I don't eat again in the morning. Some people do. Some people have to eat 3 meals and 2 snacks. I tend to eat a lot of fiber and a lot of dense food, so I stay pretty full.
Right, but again, that goes back to what you were saying earlier, that everybody's different.
Yes.
You can't design the same plan
Right.
for each person, because everybody's got their different things that they, that they're good at, that they're not good at, that they can follow, that they can follow, that they like, that they don't like.
Right.
Talk to me about the, because I think the biggest part of the whole, diet phenomenon is probably what you mentioned earlier as well, is the lifestyle change. It's about you're basically changing everything, right?
You are. I asked a question on my Facebook page a couple of weeks ago that if somebody says the word diet to you, what do you think of? And of course, most people have a negative connotation and think of things like deprivation, starvation. Right. But diet to me is a change in your lifestyle. So I'm not saying to people, you've got to stick on this lifestyle and you can't deviate from it. Everybody needs to be able to have something that they enjoy. So pick a day of the week that you want to eat something that's not on the healthy eating plan, so that you don't feel like you're deprived, because that way you can keep doing it and don't feel like this is not sustainable. Right. So it's really learning to eat what works with your body, because what I can eat may not be what does well for you. And learning how to make the most of the food that you're eating so that you are satisfied throughout the day, so that you don't crave things that you shouldn't want. But like the cruise I went on recently, I had a dessert every night. And I usually don't eat desserts, but there's nothing wrong with that. People shouldn't feel they're being deprived when they think of diet. They should be thinking that it's not just about your diet, it's about your exercise. And I always tell people, if you don't exercise, then try starting with something like 15 minutes a day, just walking. Just start doing it so that you can get into a habit of doing it. Right. You don't have to go all out and do everything big. You can make small changes in your lifestyle so that you get used to it.
Yeah, and we all know that, everybody loves change. It's the great word. Oh, my goodness, Lynn, I'm going to change, it's going to be it. But it's very tough to do.
It is hard.
And you might be good the first day, first week, first 10 days, and then all of a sudden the bad habits start to crawl back in, because it's comfortable, and it's tough to keep that change. Now you were talking about, when you hear the word diet, what does it mean? The first thing I think of, and it's because I'm kind of an idiot, I think of Richard Simmons jumping around in his tank top and his striped shorts. And that's what I think. That's the first image that comes to my head when people say diet, and then of course it starts to go to the other things, about the food deprivation, but never in that conversation do you hear stuff like it's a lifestyle change, because obviously, if you're tipping the scales at 400 pounds and sitting on the couch, something that you're doing in your life needs to change.
Right.
Your lifestyle is not helping you one bit. And and when you're dealing with somebody that maybe is, dealing with those kind of issues, I would assume you've got to help them on the mental side too, because that's got to change. It's
a mindset change. It really is. And a lot of people eat because of emotional issues, like you hear about emotional eating, and a lot of, and I think especially for us as women, we might be emotional about something, and so food becomes a comfort system for us.
You see it all the time on The Biggest Loser.
Yeah,
they focus in on the person that has this, really stressful thing that happened in their life, and they're just chowing down. It's like, it makes great TV. Don't get me wrong. Everybody likes to see people cry for some reason. But yeah, that's more of a mental thing, right?
It is, and it really is changing your mindset. And that doesn't happen overnight either. That's a slow process for some people. But I have to say that 10 years ago, I never thought that I would be a person that would go this route with eating, because I was a binge eater, definitely an emotional eater. And it's really not been that hard for me. I think because I learned so much in school about healthy eating and about how to apply it in your life. And so when other people can grasp that, and can grasp how it not only helps with your weight, but it helps with your health, then that really helps them to change. People come, they might have cholesterol issues, which I did. My triglycerides were about 550, which is like 450 more than they're supposed to be. My doctor, of course, had put me on meds, and my doctor's pretty good with me because he knows I'm a health coach, and so I had said to him, I'm not doing pills anymore. I'm doing the healthy eating route, and my stats went right down to normal after a few months and have stayed that way. I've sustained them because I eat the right way. So some of my mentality is, and it's the same if I'm dealing with a headache, there might be a certain food that I know is going to make me feel bad, so I do a mental check. How am I going to feel after I eat this? Is it worth how I'm going to feel? And most of the time for me, it's not worth it.
Right. Now we were talking also because you've done some traveling lately, and we're talking about the UK and the chocolate machines, which are awesome, and they have some crazy names for these candy bars too. It's amazing, compared to what we have.
Well,
here.
I don't know. They might think our names over here are crazy.
Exactly. But in terms of when someone, like you said, you were on vacation and you decided you're going to have dessert every night. How tough is that to kind of work into somebody? And do you, kind of design your programs? Do they come to you and say, hey, I've got this event coming up. I've got this vacation going on.
In fact, one of my clients just did that. She went on a cruise about 2 weeks before I did.
Okay.
And my advice to people when they're doing that is don't go with the idea that you've got to deprive yourself. Just go with the idea of when you're looking at what your healthy choices are, then make the healthiest choice you can, but don't deprive yourself. What's the fun of going on vacation if you're going to deprive yourself? Yeah, and, for me, that was having a dessert every night. I'm a vegetarian, so it's easy for me to pick and choose when I'm on vacation what I want to eat. But if it comes to a dessert, then I'm going to give in. But as I said, it's not my general thing. So my client that had just gone on the cruise, I'd said to her, just go and think about, look at what you've got to eat and pick some of the healthier options. And when she came back, I think she'd gained like a pound, which is really pretty good when you go on a cruise. And she said that when she looked at her choices, it was easy for her to make the right choices. Right. And she didn't deprive herself. She had a good time. But I think the one I went on, I gained 1.5 pounds, which for having eaten dessert every night was pretty good.
Yeah, which isn't bad, especially because, man, on cruises, and I've only been on one, but I've seen what they bring out. I've seen the dessert trays, and it seems like it's endless. You can just keep going back for more and more. And let's face it, whether it's the dessert or the food itself, good thing you're vegetarian because nobody's going to be fighting you over at the big pig that they got pulled out.
Right, but I have to say, my husband, when we go on a cruise, he has 2 dinners.
It's like a hobbit.
Yeah, he is. He has 2 dinners. He came back, he had gained something like 8 pounds, and within a week he had dropped that weight.
Oh, wow.
So, you don't have to look at it and think, oh my gosh, this weight's going to stay on me. If you get back onto your healthy lifestyle, it's going to drop back off again.
But if you continue eating the 2 dinners,
then
you could have a problem. Let me ask you this. Now, you had mentioned, picking the right foods, that might work for you, and you also mentioned migraines because, if people don't know, Lynne is an author, and she's also, written a book, actually 2 books on migraines. One that is coming out, correct?
Yes.
And what's the name of the new book?
Conquering Migraines, and it has in quite a few migraine-friendly recipes because as a migraine sufferer, it's really hard when you're dealing with migraine triggers that are food-related. Right. So most of those in there, of course with everybody they have a different trigger, but most of those are migraine-friendly foods.
Right. And so with the new book, you said you've got recipes in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. And what are you finding in terms of, when you were putting this together? Were you referencing stuff for yourself, or were you venturing outside, kind of taking in?
Kind of both. People? I did quite a bit of research because having been through it myself, and I was a person that woke up every day with a headache that would turn into a migraine. Now I only have them weather related pretty much because I know my migraine triggers and I stay away from those foods. Right. And so my only trigger now is the barometric changes. So when I put that book together, it wasn't just for me. I know what's worked for me, but what I use isn't necessarily what other people will use. And I have a support group on Facebook for migraine sufferers, And their needs are varied. I mean, there are some people that have migraines related to illnesses they've got. People that are, it's genetic. Thanks to my dad, I have them. But, different people have got different triggers. Some people have traumatic head injuries that's a whole different ball game that you're talking about, but they end up with migraines. But there are some basic things that you can do for migraines, whoever you are, and one of the most important things to learn is what your triggers are, because again, it goes back to the question, one of my biggest triggers is cheese, and I happen to love cheese. But a couple of years ago, I went back to England to visit my mum and decided the cheese over there is a little different, and I thought, no, I just have to have a tiny bit. I probably didn't have more than a tablespoon, and I woke up the next day with a migraine. So again, I go back to that mindset. Ask myself the question, if you have this, is it worth how you're going to feel tomorrow? And for me, it's not. And I do the same with food, because there are certain foods that give you energy. There are certain foods that keep you dragged out. And so I make that decision. Do I want to feel energetic tomorrow, or do I want to feel like I'm going to fall asleep at my desk? And I've done that before.
Well, that's something you definitely want to avoid.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the migraines, like you said, you've suffered with them. You said you suffered with them for a long, long time.
I did.
And they can be quite debilitating for people that like it. For me, it's completely foreign. I've never dealt with a migraine personally. I don't know what it's like. A friend of mine had a wife who had them, and I remember, him going, "Oh well, you know what? She's going to be down for a day or two." And it kind of struck me weird. It's like, what do you mean down? What's going on? And he explained it. She has a migraine. I'm like, well, can't you just take something for that? Because that, I didn't know. I had no reference point on how debilitating it could be. But in terms of, what you do with migraine sufferers, you found that the holistic approach has been something that
it has. It's definitely worked for me, and it's definitely helped other people. One of the biggest differences for me was learning how to eat a healthy, again it goes back to a healthy lifestyle, and exercise. And it's really hard to teach migraine people about exercise, because all they can think of is, when I've got migraine pain, how am I supposed to exercise? So you don't exercise when you've got a migraine. When you've got a migraine, you want to bang your head against the wall and wish the world would go away. But if you, in your good days, can learn to exercise, it relieves the stress, it relieves the tension that a lot of migraine sufferers hold in their body. Stress is a trigger for migraines, so it helps with that. And of course, it keeps your heart healthy, it keeps you... It's actually known, and I did my research on it, it is a migraine preventative. But it's very hard to teach people who have a lot of migraines how to fit that in.
Right. Yeah, and especially like you said, you used to get them basically 28
day.
days a month, which is tough to be like, okay, I'm going to go exercise. No, I'm not. How did you, once you decided, okay, I'm going this holistic way to try and figure this out and beat it, how did you start to incorporate all that?
Actually, I was very, very lucky. I was hooked on Vicodin from being on my migraine. Being on the migraine medications they give you are very limited in what they'll give you, but they'll hand out the Vicodin to you. So because I had them every day, I would take Vicodin every day, and then it's like a catch-22. The more pain pills you take, the more headaches you get. It's called the rebound effect. So I actually went to Tampa General Hospital, who has a migraine program, and so they got me off my Vicodin, and they taught me some of the holistic approaches to migraines, and they actually would not let you leave the migraine program unless you were doing some kind of exercise before you left. They would stand there and watch you do your exercise. So they had me on a treadmill. Whenever I would go there, that was part of their program. So I've even learned, because now I'm kind of through that end and I don't have that many, and when I have them, they scale them on 1 to 10, or whereas mine would most of the time be 9 or 10, mine are probably 3 or 4s now in comparison. Right. So they're manageable. If you've got a migraine at 3 or 4, you can probably still get on your treadmill or go out for a walk and handle it pretty well. Because as migraine sufferers, we learn to handle that pain. You have no choice, otherwise you'd never be in work.
Yeah, and you'd never leave your house.
Right.
Now, with it, like you said, as a 3 or a 4, you're able to go and say, you know what, I'm going to go do this walk, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go, and you're able to, okay. And then you find that relieves it as you're doing it?
It does. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. One of my go-tos, if I wake up with a migraine, is I will drink a cup of coffee and I will have a carb of some kind, whether it's toast or a bagel or something, or even if I have muesli, just that bit of carbohydrate helps with the caffeine, and it generally takes it away. Whereas years ago when I was at an 8, 9, 10 level, there is no way it would have helped relieve it a little bit, but not enough that I could have done anything. Right. There were many days when I left work and had to pull over to the side of the road to throw up. My head hurt so bad.
Wow.
And that's how many migraine sufferers are. A lot of migraine sufferers are actually on disability.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, who knew? I guess I know now.
You know now.
Thanks to Lynne Wadsworth. She's our guest. She's the owner at Holistic Health and Wellness, LLC. She's out of Valrico, Florida. Go to her website, holistic-healthandwellness.com, or give her a call, 813-340-1368. Let me ask you this now, because you mentioned when you went to the hospital. See, and this is something that I didn't realize as well, that you went in for a migraine, but they were actually kind of pushing a holistic approach.
Yes.
And that, to me, is foreign again.
Very, very unusual.
Because, as you said, hey, here's a Vicodin, there you go, and then they get you hooked. You would think that in a hospital setting, it's all about just covering up the pain and getting them out the door kind of thing.
Right, and most places are. I've been to many neurologists, and that was their standard operating procedure. Just take this pill and come back in 6 months. And that doesn't help people in the long run. You get into that cycle and it doesn't ever break it.
Right. So now, what made them, did you choose to go to them because of that?
I chose to go to them because my co-in-law, as I call her, my daughter's mother-in-law, her son is a doctor, and he had recommended years ago that I went to Tampa General. They'd got some great migraine doctors. And I never did, but by the time I got so bad, I thought, well, they actually call it a rehab center because they rehabilitate people with migraines. I had no idea when I went there it was a holistic center that they ran. Right. And that really was just such a pivotal thing for me, that people think that if you go in holistic, it's not really going to help, but it's just made a tremendous difference in my life. And I was just very lucky to have that place close to where I live. I don't think most people are that lucky.
Right. Well, because I was going to say, with the hospital, like I said, you always get that impression that they're only going to give you pills and get you out the door and kind of keep you there for a couple hours longer than you should be.
Right.
But to find out that they're pushing this holistic, I guess, remedy is kind of odd. Do you see that happening more and more with quote-unquote Western medicine, the regular MDs, so to speak?
I don't know so much with regular MDs. I know there are many functional medicine doctors out there that go to the root cause of the problem so that they can treat the problem and not just cover it up with pills. So functional medicine doctors definitely take that approach. And that's really what Tampa General did, because they go to look a bit deeper into what your migraines are about so that they can help you with a lifestyle that's going to overcome that. Right. Naturopathic doctors are more holistically inclined. Some of the MDs definitely have more of a holistic approach than they used to. I'm very lucky with my doctor. He has tried to refer people with migraines to me, and that to me is great when an MD will do that. It's great to be able to team up with a doctor, because the doctors can help people, they can give them pills, or they can help them to a degree, but they can't work with them like a health coach can, where they can give them weekly help and help them through what they're going through.
Right, and give them the advice and kind of point them in and say, look, I've heard this works, give that a try kind of thing, as opposed to, what they can do is prescribe things.
Right.
You prescribe things, but you prescribe holistic ways they can get the relief and the help that they need. Now, with that, was that what launched you towards, okay, you know what, now that I've conquered my migraines, I got to tell more people about this, I've got to write a book, I've got to do all these things?
Actually, I was interested in health and wellness before I even gave my migraines a thought. And I went to college, and it was here in New York. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and that really kind of got me so interested in the health and wellness aspect. And it was around that time I was still actually going through college when I went to the holistic approach for my migraines. So it just kind of worked out for me because I was already working toward that goal, and having been through it myself, yeah, that's kind of been a catalyst with me wanting to help people who suffer like I did, because I know there's hope out there. Most people with migraines can get very depressed because it's like there's no hope out there. You just always are in this constant pain, and when's it ever going to stop?
Yeah. And again, it's something like you said, 28 out of 30 days you were dealing with, which that's no way to live.
No, it isn't.
So when you find something that works, I'm sure you probably come across people and be like, you know what, I can't wait to tell this person about this, about how this has helped me, because it can be so debilitating.
Yes, definitely.
And I think, like I said for myself, I had no idea how debilitating and bad it could get for someone who suffered from migraines, that they have to turn lights off, that they have to be completely shut down in rooms and lose, days at a time. There's a lot of people that still don't realize how bad it can get with people.
Right. My husband never has understood migraines, and one time he got a headache and he said, I really understand now what you've gone through. And I looked at him and I said, you got to be kidding me, right?
You know what? Okay, you have a headache, go to the driveway, put your head there, I'm going to hit it with the car, and then you can understand the beginning of my pain.
Yeah, people that don't have migraines, to them it's really foreign. They don't understand why people have to leave work, why people miss work. It's just something that unless you've experienced it, you just don't get it.
Right. And another thing that Lynne helps people with is discovering their triggers.
Yes.
Because that's an important thing to figure out, okay, why is this happening? How often it's happening, and how to best kind of offset when it does happen, right?
Right. And there are so many triggers. I mean, it's not just food. There are environmental triggers, like I told you coming over today, coming in from the city over to here. The guy that brought me had been smoking, and by the time I got here I could just feel that, and I had not brought my essential oils, which I usually use, and I could just feel it. My eyes started puffing up, and my sinuses got clogged. So for different people it's different things. Smoke is definitely a migraine trigger. As I said, weather is a trigger for some people.
Right.
In fact, I've really heard about a lot of people lately, not just in the Florida area. I have to say that once we moved to Florida, the weather became a real factor for me, which it hadn't been before. But, I've heard different people on my Facebook group that have talked about weather being a bad trigger for them. It's the barometric changes that seem to trigger that. And, of course, as I say, stress. So you have to learn how to cope with your stress, how to do some things that will relieve the stress. I mean, you're not going to relieve the stress in your life, but you can help relieve the stress that you're feeling.
Right.
As I say, even exercise. Exercise can be a trigger for migraines.
Really?
Yes.
See, and you were just saying how exercise helps you.
But but for some, it depends how intense it is, because I used to jog a lot, and I know sometimes I would go so fast at it that I could feel my head start pounding. So you have to use common sense with migraines. Exercise is definitely a preventative, but it's like I tell my migraine people, be careful how you do it. Don't just go full speed ahead with it. You've got to see how your body reacts to it.
Right.
But foods, wines are a migraine trigger. Red wines, because of the tyramine in there.
Okay.
And processed foods are really bad triggers. That's why I don't eat processed foods
and
anymore.
You can't have cheese.
Can't have cheese, and that really hurts.
Hey, let me ask you this. Now you do have, you do have people that come to you for the migraines.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a certain program that you kind of get everybody started into?
I do. It really depends on the person's individual needs. I will see people on a one-off basis. I will see people on a monthly basis. I have a 4-week migraine program, and I do have a 12-week health and wellness program. But I also talk to people on a monthly basis. And I do this, very few people do I see in person, because most of the people that I deal with are out of my local area, so I do a lot of video conferencing. And what I like about that is that I can record our sessions so that people have got something to go back and refer to.
Right. And now when you're in, let's say the 4-week session, now is that something that you've devised and said, okay, you know what, I can get you, to this point where now you'll be able to manage it better?
It's all about education, because with migraine people, it's not going to happen overnight, just like with weight loss or healthy things, it doesn't happen overnight. So it's a case of educating them, teaching them, because what works for one doesn't work for another. Like magnesium to me is a great thing. I take magnesium for my migraines. It's one of the research things that doctors recommend. And if I know there's a weather front coming in, I'll take an extra magnesium at night, which does help. So there are some supplements like that I do deal with migraine people. Some people do well with supplements with migraines, some people just don't. Right. Many migraine sufferers, we've just had it pounded into us, reach for that pill, take away the pain. But in the long run, that's not what's going to bring about the biggest change for you. And I'm not bringing people into my program to say you've got to get off your meds. I'm working around what they take to teach them some ways so that they don't have to take medication as often and can get to the point where with me, it's very rare that I take it.
Well, that's great. Now with the 4-week, like I said, you take them through, and you can help them, you can coach them along, and kind of help them discover what causes it, right? Right. Do you? And this is meant to be as a complimentary thing, right? You're not telling people stop going to your doctor, stop doing it. Right. So, no. So
No.
Lynn's not telling you.
I am not a physician.
Right.
I am not licensed in that way. So no, that's my disclaimer.
Right, and this is more complementary to what you're already doing that can help you, maybe even speed up the process. Now, what about this? I see you mentioned essential oils. Now, what is that all about?
Well, I love essential oils. I was introduced to them several years ago, and essential oils are another great natural alternative. Again, I always recommend a high therapeutic grade essential oil. Don't just go to Marshall's or Ross or CVS and pick up something. But
you don't want to get the Red Bull version of essential oils. Okay.
But they are great for. I guess there is an essential oil for just about everything now. The FDA has not approved a lot of the statements, so I have to be careful. But I know that in my own life, I have used one called Past Tense, which is a blend. I believe it's got frankincense, lavender, peppermint, a few other things. And if I start getting, most of mine start up here, apart from the fact it's always one side, but there's tension down there. Well, some of the essential oils can help ease that. So it's a natural way of getting some relief without having to reach for the pill. So I would always go to that first. And as I told somebody before I came in today, I had looked at my essential oils and I thought, I won't need them today. I left them in my hotel room and got round that smoke and thought, oh my gosh, I wish I'd got my Past Tense with me, because I knew that would have helped me. Lavender's very good because it calms you, which when you've got a migraine, you can get very stressed out. So that's a calming one. Peppermint is great for easing some of the tension as well. And it's good to smell them, because a lot of migraine people get a lot of sinus congestion with a headache. That's one of the lovely side effects. You get a headache, you get the pain in your neck, you get the stuffy sinuses, and if you breathe in some of those, then it can help clear up your sinuses.
All right. Now how do essential oils work? Because you say oils, and I think, okay, it's probably in a jar, in a bottle with a little stopper thing.
See, now I wish I'd have brought them with me.
Yeah, me too.
They're in tiny bottles, most of them, but the one that I use for my migraines is actually a roll-on. Okay. And you use the tiniest bit. They're very strong. So the best place to actually use essential oils for other than migraines is the base of your feet, because you've got bigger pores there and it absorbs better.
Okay.
So people that have sleep issues, if you want to use something like lavender or cedarwood and rub into your feet at night, that will help you relax.
Okay.
They also come in a cream form for people that have muscle tension, that you can just rub the cream on just like you would Bengay, but it's a lot more effective.
Right.
But they also do that in a roll-on and an oil. They have oils that can help with your eating habits, help you feel less hungry. They have oils that you can diffuse into the air. All of them pretty much you can diffuse, so just breathing in the scent of it can help.
So you don't actually drink them?
You can.
You can? Oh,
Some
okay.
of them you can. Lavender is one that you don't drink, but I often put some peppermint into my water. Just to give it a nice flavor. Sometimes some lemon oil in the mornings, if I'm not doing fresh lemon. So yeah, some of them you can drink,
Okay.
but another disclaimer, if you're putting them into your drink, make sure you put it into glass bottles, not into plastic bottles.
Okay, and why is that?
It disintegrates.
Disintegrates the plastic?
The plastic doesn't do very well.
That could be a good
Especially like a
science
flimsy, real flimsy ones, definitely. There are a couple that I've used that are real heavy plastic that they're fine, but
Right.
for the most part, if you put it in your water, put it into stainless steel or
See, that's a little
glass.
scary too, because it almost
Yeah.
reminds me of, and I think I've mentioned this to you, all my references come from TV and movies, and it sounds like the blood from Alien. You cut Alien trying to stop him from chewing at your face and implanting you, and all of a sudden his acid blood is cutting you.
Well, there's
right
probably
in
an oil for that.
Again, we're talking to Lynne Wadsworth. She's the owner at Holistic Health and Wellness LLC out of Valrico, Florida. Holistic-healthandwellness.com is her website. Also, give her a call at 813-340-1368. We're having a great discussion. She's also an author. She's got a new book coming out called Conquering Migraines, but you also have a book that you wrote first, right?
I have one that's got a rather long title.
It does have a rather long title. I wrote it down to make sure. The Ultimate Migraine Handbook, the Holistic Approach to Pain Relief.
And that's pretty similar to my second one, but I expanded on the first one and I added recipes into the second one, because I realized that, well, there are many books out there that for migraine diets, but it's just that sometimes you can know what foods to stay away from, but then you're thinking, what am I going to cook? What can I cook that's a good healthy meal that I'm going to enjoy? So it gives some good healthy alternatives there that are not going to give you a migraine.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Now, in terms of when you're dealing with that, that person that comes to you and they've got not only they got maybe the migraine issue, but you're also trying to help them because you're a coach.
Right.
So you're
Right.
trying to now we've figured out what your problems are. Now I've got to change that mental attitude, that lifestyle that you talked about earlier too. How is it? That's got to be it's kind of a long process,
tough,
huh?
and it is a long process, and a lot of us don't like doing some of the things that you need to do, but especially for migraine sufferers, food diaries, which doctors will tell you when you go in, you need to keep a food diary, and migraine journals, because you're not just looking at food, you're looking at environmental things. Right. And it's a real pain to have to write things down, but it's the same with weight or with health issues. If you journal what you're doing, and you can get to see what it is that maybe you're eating, what it is that you're doing that's really a stumbling block for you. Okay. Writing it down helps, and it also helps with the mindset. Mindset with migraine people is a very hard one to overcome. As I say, we've been taught to just let's pick up the pill, let's take the pill and get rid of the pain. Right. So that's a really hard one to break, and it just takes time. And some people stay with me for an extended period of time. Some people just want to come and get the quick fix, and those are the people that don't really make it so well in the long term. The people that I've had success with have stayed with me for more than a year, so they really get into that real mindset that they need to be in.
Right. Now when they're doing the program, right, say the 4 weeks is over and they're feeling better, and now do you do like follow-up things, like almost like tune-ups on cars?
Yeah,
where he's like, okay.
It depends on what they want. I will always coach with somebody on a one-on-one basis for however long they need it or however many times a month they need it. With migraine people, I would have a tendency to probably want to talk with them for a less amount of time, but more times, like every week instead of maybe twice a month, because migraines are unpredictable. You don't know when the next one's going to hit, and you're kind of talking them down from the ledge. You know, are you going to take that pain pill, or are you going to try something else first? And I'm by no means saying don't take a pain pill, but if you take over-the-counter meds, which a lot of people do, there are some good alternatives that you can try first. So again, it all comes down to education, which is what a health coach does. They educate people how to make those lifestyle changes, and you teach them what are the better alternatives, and you teach them things like things I didn't know, that you don't go for the low-fat, no-fat things. And that's bad for a migraine sufferer, because most of those, to make it taste better, have artificial sweeteners in, and that's really bad for migraine sufferers. That's a migraine trigger itself.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that, because like you said, it's meant to, it's written as, oh, it's low fat or no fat or whatever free and this free, and you think you're making the right choice.
Right.
And you're thinking, okay, this is going to help me.
That's a mindset that's really hard to break,
Right.
because we've been so ingrained to believing what the advertisements tell us, that here's your great alternative, you're not going to have all the calories and you've got great taste. Well, yeah, you have the great taste, but what expense does that come at?
Yeah.
You're much better off, say, with yogurts. Those are one of the easy things. They add aspartame to the no fat, low fat. But if you take something like a Greek yogurt and buy either the plain or the vanilla, you can add things to it. I like to add cacao nibs to mine because I like chocolate.
Okay. I think we discovered
yeah.
that earlier, yeah.
And you can, and that's a good healthy chocolate,
Right.
as long as you don't eat a whole bunch of it, and add some nuts to it. Or you can add some fresh fruit to your yogurt, and there you've got a healthy alternative, but you've got the fiber, you've got the nutrients,
Right.
and you're not dealing with the artificial sweeteners.
Yeah, it's almost like the person that goes to, oh, you know what, I'm going to have a Diet Coke, but give me 3 double Whopper meals with
Yeah.
extra fries.
Well, you have the Diet Coke, and you've got nothing but aspartame or
Right.
some other bad thing.
Now, what about dark chocolate? I hear there are good
Dark
things about
chocolate's
dark
definitely
chocolate.
better for you. Don't tell me that when I go to England. No one wants to buy my Cadbury's white chocolate. But yeah, it's definitely healthier for you. Again, it's not been stripped of the nutrients that other things have been stripped of.
Right.
It's like, you know, you refine them, you process them. But if you're going back to the pure cocoa, then you've got a good alternative.
Right.
And you can buy it in powder form at your good health food store. You can buy it, as I say, in these little tiny pieces of chocolate that are dark chocolate, that are healthy for you.
Almost like little chocolate chips
Yes,
or something?
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Smaller
'cause you can,
than that.
You can sprinkle those.
Yes.
I like to sprinkle those on waffles.
Ah, okay.
You know,
And of course, you have waffles that are whole wheat, right?
Of course
Of
not.
course.
No, of course. Why would I do that? That would ruin the waffle, Lynn. Hey, let me ask you this now. When it comes to, because you also mentioned stress being one of the triggers that could be
Yes.
causing, not only the
Migraines and weight gain.
but the weight gain as well. How do you manage? How do you get people to manage that? Because sometimes, let's face it, you can't. You work in a stressful situation. Say you work in a stress. How am I going to get away from that stress?
Well, you don't. You don't get away from the stress. You learn quick ways to overcome the stress in the moment. So breathing exercises are one thing that I teach people to do. Nowadays, with our iPhones and Androids, because it's really iPhones, but they have apps that you can do meditations, and it's not like when you think about, I used to think about meditation as a woo-woo
Right.
thing. Okay, so these are like quick 2 or 3 minute things where it just gives you time. Your meditation app will take you through walking through your body to see where you're holding your tension and to begin to release it through breathing. And they've got them that are 1 and 2 minutes. You can get them 13, 15 minutes or even 20, 30 minutes to help you sleep at night.
Now, does that stuff actually work?
It
Have you used
does.
one?
I've used them. In
Really?
fact, that was one of the things that the hospital insisted that you got before they finished the program with you. You downloaded the app. The one I had, I paid $1.99 for it, and it's more than paid for itself. And you can you can get free ones. You don't have to buy them.
Right.
But they definitely do work, and it's definitely not something that you have to take a long, long time at. One of the nice things that I like is I don't do it anymore. I don't go to the beach because I like my skin to be healthy. But one of my happy places is to picture myself on the beach with the blue sky and the waves just lapping up, and I'm on my own reading a book, and that's very restful to me. So you can take yourself to your happy place like that just for a couple of minutes, and it will relieve some of the stress for you.
Right.
So that's not a long-term relief, but it's a short-term relief. When you're working, you can take a couple of minutes break to do that.
Yeah, and I'm giggling because you said, take you to your happy place. And like I said, Lynn, I'm kind of an idiot. All my TV and movie references, the first thing that popped into my head, believe it or not, was, have you ever seen the movie Happy Gilmore?
Oh, gosh, years ago.
Probably, yeah. A while. Well, it was just on the other day.
Ah.
And he went to his happy place so he could do his putt. And his happy place had a girl in lingerie waiting with two pitchers of beer. It had his grandma who he was trying to take care of, save her house, and of course he had a midget. You gotta have a midget in your happy place. So I don't know if you had that in your
that's your happy place, then good luck to you,
I might have
Rick.
to add the midget for my happy place. I'm just saying. But that's an actual, that's an example of what you were saying. Going to a happy place, going to kind of relieve some of that stress. How do you do that though in a work environment? Do you have to maybe leave the office, leave the cubicle? You can sit there and do that?
You can sit there and do that. Some people like to close their eyes, but you don't have to. You can actually pull up on your screen if your employer is not going to tell you off for it, but put up a picture of somewhere that is, like for me, of course, again, it's the beach. If I've got a picture of the beach on my desktop, I can look at that and I can imagine that I'm there. So for other people, then you might want a picture of a midget on your desktop. I mean, I don't know, whatever floats your boat,
Well, he had a
Rick.
cowboy hat on, and he was riding a bicycle or a tricycle or something like that.
I don't think many people riding a bike that would be their happy place, although for some maybe, but you really have to do what you can do in the moment. Anybody can do breathing exercises wherever they're at.
Right.
Just take some deep breaths. It's very easy. One of the best ones and we were taught this in school, is to breathe in for 7 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then whoosh it out for 8 seconds. And you can do that 4 times. You can do that wherever you're at, whether you're sitting at a desk or not. But also, if you're in a desk job, you also want to make sure you're getting up and moving around, and you're not just sitting there all day long. You really need to get up and move.
Okay. Well, that's helpful because, these days there's more stress than ever.
Yes, there is.
Especially whether it be at home or at work or road rage. I'm sure you were stressing out probably getting here because you had to sit there with the guy with the smoke.
Well, I wasn't driving though, but with the smoke,
Right.
yes. But at least I wasn't driving because I thought Tampa traffic was bad, but nothing like you all have in New York.
Oh my goodness, Tampa! It's vacation. That's vacation land, Lynn.
Well, I used to be able to get to my office in 8 minutes, and
Where?
in Valrico.
Oh, okay.
And now it's like a half hour. I mean, the traffic's built up everywhere around there, but nothing like this.
So do you ever find yourself like?
Yes.
And you gotta
got to calm myself down.
calm yourself down.
Mhm. Yes.
You're not packing heat in the car there. Taking bites out to
No.
anybody?
I could because I do carry a permit, but no, I don't.
See, something else we learned.
Yeah. Well, my husband was a police officer, so
Really?
yeah.
I'm sure he probably saw a lot of stressful
Yeah,
situations. Huh?
he did. And in the military before that, so yeah, a lot of stress.
Now, how is he, with you now taking on this lifestyle change? Has he kind of followed suit, or is he just like
Not so much.
Not so much?
He's pretty healthy with his exercise. He lifts weights and he works out several times a week. He tries with his diet. His idea of a good diet and mine are not necessarily the same, but
Right.
I'm actually very blessed because he's very self-sufficient, thanks to my wonderful mother-in-law. And he'll cook his own foods, and of course he eats meat, and I don't. So, we've kind of hit the happy medium there. He does his thing and I do mine. which is very unusual.
Yeah, and that's also something tough to kind of balance, because, like you said, you're a vegetarian. He's a carnivore.
Yes.
Sometimes there's going to be that, because I live with a vegetarian, but sometimes she reaches over and says, that steak looks pretty good.
I've thought about that sometimes, but then when I think of actually tasting it, it actually nauseates me now.
Oh,
I've been a vegetarian so long. Yeah.
Now, when is your new book going to be coming out? Any idea?
It's actually out. It's on CreateSpace and it's on Amazon. I just don't have it up on my website to download yet. My web person's working on that this weekend.
And now the book itself, again, it's the new book called Conquering Migraines. Is there going to be a hard copy version that people
There's a
can
hard
order?
copy on CreateSpace. That's where
Okay.
they go for the hard copy. I do have some available, but it's just as easy for them to order it there.
Right. And now what about you said they can download a copy of it as
Download
well?
it on my website as a PDF or on Amazon for Kindle or whatever they have.
Right. That's not bad, especially like you said with the way people are stressed for time, and hey, download the book. Now, is
Yeah.
it an audio book as well, or
No.
just downloading it for their
No.
Kindle at this point?
I hadn't thought about doing an audio book, but that's a good idea.
It is a great idea, because I thought of it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's great. Something to look out for. I'm sure the update's going to be coming to your
Yes.
website very soon. The website being holistic-healthandwellness.com. Our guest today is Lynne Wadsworth. She is the owner of Holistic Health and Wellness LLC out of Valrico, Florida. Go to the website holistic-healthandwellness.com. You can get a copy of the book. You can get a copy of her previous book.
And there are lots of free things.
And a lot of free things on there as well. Free is good.
Yes.
Go check out what she has on the website, holistic-healthandwellness.com, or you can also give her a call, 813-340-1368. Lynn, always a
Thank
pleasure.
you,
Thank you
Rick.
so much for joining us today right here on Empire Talks.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right.